Welcome back to Newsmakers. It's a political panel this week. We are with Labour's Clayton Cosgrove and National's Kate Wilkinson. Just on the minimum wage front, since you are the Minister responsible for such matters, there was a column, I think it was from Matt McCarson, who I'm sure you would consider probably not to your political ilk, but he was saying on the Sunday...
He's a good guy, though.
Yeah, good guy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He was saying in the New Zealand Herald earlier this week that he does not believe you could cite one study in the world to prove your claim that raising the minimum wage to, say, $13, $14, $15 an hour would kill jobs. Can you? Can you cite any study in the world to support that?
Well, every year what happens is my officials, the department, will give me a report and they get advice from Treasury and others. And that was the caution that if we raised it to $13 or plus, that would result in job losses.
But is there anything to underpin that?
But it stands to reason. It stands to reason if you've got a business that's struggling out there, and we've got a lot of small businesses out there, and they're struggling to pay $12.50, you put it up to $13, they just might reduce the hours of those people, they might not take more people on, and it just stands to reason that there are businesses struggling, and we have to make them successful.
The truth internationally, the evidence is coming out, especially out of Australia. There's evidence to show the reverse. And the National Party are great at sort of bleating about how good things are in Australia and how we should get parity with Australia, except when it comes to this. And here's the blunt truth. 25 cents, what can be done with that? When your ACC levies have gone up, when your registration for your vehicle's gone up, that's actually not an increase. The real figure is it's actually a decrease when you take into account all the sort of hidden taxes and levies that this government's actually put up. And it's interesting, what you do with the department is you ask them for the evidence and them for the international research, and it sounds like the department hasn't given the minister any evidence.
Just very quick.
If Clayton was right, then why didn't they increase the minimum wage to $15 in the 9 years?
We increased the minimum wage.
In 2001, you did it by 15 cents.
We increased the minimum wage every year.
In 2002, you did it by 30 cents.
We increased the minimum wage every year for 9 years, and you opposed it. And your government opposed it every time. You didn't want it increased.
All right.
I've had 2 opportunities to increase the minimum wage, and I've done it both times.
Why did you oppose it in opposition?
I don't skite about the amount of it, but we have to be reasonable, and we have to be rational, and I really don't want people losing jobs.
OK. We'll move on to the very gentle issue of national standards. The Prime Minister has entered the bear pit as his embattled Education Minister faces the blowtorch from teacher unions. Is the Prime Minister's intervention on this front a vote of shrinking confidence in the Minister?
Absolutely not. I mean, national standards is really important. We want parents to know how their kids are doing at school. It was part of our election platform. It's one of our priorities because we think it's really important that kids get a good start, that they can maximise their opportunities in education, and that's the importance that we're putting on this election promise.
Clayton, I appreciate that the teacher unions are substantial contributors to the Labour Party coffers, but in all honesty, do you agree that they are behaving like a pack of troglodytes?
Well, they're not substantial contributors to the Labour Party coffers. They do their bit like others do. No, but I think it goes beyond the teacher unions. See, you just talked about evidence. All the international... We've always had national standards, actually, in various ways. Always had them. The Minister nods. And I agree that we should encourage the highest possible standards. Here's the point. There is a bunch of international evidence in Britain, in the States, in the Nordic countries showing that this does not work. There is no evidence.
But we're not doing the UK style.
No, hang on. There is no evidence to say this will work. And the interesting thing about the Prime Minister's intervention, which I think a couple of reporters picked up on, Mr Espiner did, is this. He's come out and threatened to sack any community member who's on a board of trustees, because these aren't corporate people, these are our communities. They stand for election on their local school, their board of trustees in Kaiapoi and Swannanoa. He will sack them if they don't adhere to his directive regarding...
All right, but the School Trustees Association is supporting the Minister. The NZEI certainly isn't, but the School Trustees Association is behind this.
You've got the union, an organisation, you've got the Trustees Association, then you've got teachers and parents below that, right? Yeah. They're the people actually, not the organisations, at the coalface. And the feedback about this, and we're not educationalists. I'm not a teacher. My father was. I'm not one. But I go around the schools every week, and I haven't heard anything but negative feedback. Not because teachers are scared of this.
There's groupthink amongst them, isn't there?
No, there's not. You would have have to admit this. Every teacher I've known has their child's interests at heart. I can't find parents who say, and I ask them, do you not get the information from your teachers? Do they not sort of report to you? Because the National Party myth was that parents weren't being told how their children were doing, that it was all an intellectual gobbledygook, that you couldn't get information out of your teachers. I tell you, in my schools and my electorate, the kids themselves and the teachers report directly to the parents, and I haven't found a parent. Parents look at me and say, what do you mean I can't get information? I ring Mrs Smith up, the teacher, and I ask her.
So why did National receive such an overwhelming mandate at the last election for vigorous national standards and clear reporting?
Yeah, because I think, well, I would say this, it is a slogan. It's simply a slogan because it's built on a lie that says we don't have standards in our schools. We all believe that our kids should achieve the highest possible standard. I just want to do what works, not what's political.
Couple of quick things. It would appear to some that a new front has been opened up by the Prime Minister in particular when it comes to national standards. Not only is this about assessing students at primary school level, but assessing teachers. And of course he has cited the CRO report that indicates 30% of teachers are not doing a good job when it comes to teaching reading and writing. Are they on notice?
Are they on notice?
Are they going to be under major scrutiny?
We have a duty to ensure that our kids get the very best education possible. I think what does disappoint me is that it is a standard that a national standard that we are implementing. It was part of our election policy. OK, some of the teachers might not like it, but they're a role model to the kids. And if just because you don't like something, you don't say, I'm not going to do it. And what sort of role model is that being to kids? To say, oh, well, I don't like this, therefore I'm not going to do it. Or I'm going to go out on a bus and I'm going to strike and I'm going to take some action. And I think that's really disappointing. And I think it would be really much better for the kids, for the parents, if actually the teachers worked together with everybody to make sure that the implementation of these standards works as well as it possibly can.
My question is simply this, why not trial it? Why not, if it's such a good policy...
Because it would take forever, Clayton. You know these trials take forever.
If it's such a good policy, why not give us the international evidence that it works? And why not say, because there's an advisory group been set up, the government's done that, we'll trial it. And if they're right, I'll put my hand on my heart and say, Kate, you're right, where the trial has borne out the evidence. But on a number of occasions and a number of portfolios, this government won't put these policies up to any independent scrutiny. Okay. Now, I've never met a teacher who doesn't have your son or daughter's best interests at heart. They're passionate, not about the job, they're passionate about those kids. And if they say, we believe this is wrong, it's not actually about them. I trust their judgment.
Do you concede, though, that there is a sense that the teacher unions are terrified by the concept of accountability, particularly in the wake of what the Prime Minister has said this week?
No, I think it's being painted like that. It's being painted, this is about accountability. Look, I read a journalist who said this, if the national standards had been in, and Winston Churchill had been in our school as a child, he would have been considered, shall we say, very substandard. The facts are, does it work? Let's see the evidence. The international evidence it says it doesn't, so why not trial it? Okay. If the government won't trial it, then it doesn't work.
We will take a break. Coming up, flag waving, GST and political postcards. Do stay with us.